You already know, son.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Against the Ropes, number one.
Against the Ropes podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. AtR podcast. Gio Garcia here, alongside Christian Mosqueda, back at it once again. Huge weekend in boxing, Chris. You knew we'd be back. You knew we'd be back this week to break it all down.
Yes, brother. We're recapping what was, in my opinion, one of the biggest events of the year. A fight that we didn't think was going to happen.
What a hot take. Chris already starting with the hot takes. Look at that. One of the biggest events of the year. Man.
And, and again, it's a fight that we joked about that we wouldn't believe it was going to happen until the fourth round, until the day after the fight. But yeah, we got it. And we'll talk about it in a little bit. We'll get into it. But I want to ask you, Gio, I gotta say, we gotta first commend these two fighters for making this fight happen. We gotta commend even their promoters for making it happen. They gave us a fight, man. They gave us a fight, and it's and yeah, man. We gotta commend these two guys for stepping in the ring.
Yeah, 100%. We talked about it last week. We don't see too many guys, under 30 fights, in their 20s, fighting each other, facing each other. In this case, really nothing was on the line other than bragging rights, no belts, nothing like that. It was a made-up weight class, 136. Technically, is junior welterweight, 136 through 140, right? But yeah, I mean, you got to commend them, especially to me, Ryan Garcia. We knew he was going to be the underdog. We knew the odds were against him. The stipulations were against him. And, he ended up getting stopped in the seventh by a vicious body shot. We'll break it all down. But, you got to commend him for taking this fight. A lot of people did not like the end of the fight, saying he quit, this and that. We'll get into all that stuff. But, yeah, you got to give it up to him for taking this fight, knowing that there was a very, very strong possibility that he was going to lose. So, yeah, I mean, let's get into it. I'm not sure what exactly you want to begin with, but yeah, go ahead, Chris. Take it away.
Do you like this fight lived up to the hype? Action-wise and money-wise, what are your thoughts? Did it live up to the hype?
I think it did. That's just my personal opinion, though, as someone who bought it. I think it did. I think there was plenty of action. I was a bit disappointed we only saw 7 rounds. I would have liked to see it go into the deeper rounds, 10, 11, 12, and see how both men react. But, yeah, I don't think we learn anything from either, in my opinion. Obviously, I predicted Garcia to survive all 12 but lose. That didn't happen. But I don't think he did a terrible job in this fight. I think he won some rounds. I think the scorecards didn't reflect that, but the first, I'd say 2-3 rounds, he looked good, but obviously he got dropped. So, and we'll get into that controversy as well with the scoring and everything. But yeah, I wasn't upset at it. People always like to see knockouts. So we got one, not the way that I'd say 99% people predicted it to end, but with a body shot, of course. But it happened, and I'm not mad at it. How did you feel about it? with your hot take of it being one of the best events of the year, how'd you feel about it when it was all
Yeah,
said and done?
yeah, I would say I would give this a rating of a B. In based on satisfaction. I agree with you, Joe. I wish it could have gone longer. More rounds would have been great. 10th, 11th round would have been awesome. I would have, it would have shown a little bit more competitive to the fight. Of course, well, the undercard wasn't stacked, so it's a lot to put. It's a lot of pressure to put on these guys to deliver, on the size of event. But yeah, I'll give it a B minus. The action was good. The fact that Tank knocked him down, that was exciting. Ryan started off hot in that first round. That was exciting too. And yeah, of course we expected a knockout, but we didn't expect it to the body. So and at least I didn't expect it to, I kind of wish Ryan would have gone up, but I can't blame him. I've never taken a body shot. I can't say I would have gone up myself. Only boxers know what that feels like. But overall, not too disappointed. Could it have been better? Yes, but again, you can't ask for too much.
We can't ask for too much, Chris. Don't you ever say that again. All right, but yeah, let me just start with, I feel like the boxer should always get the benefit of the doubt. We're not the one taking that body punches. We don't know what it feels like. And, people came to Ryan's defense, Regis Prograis saying people need to shut up because they don't know what that's like. But, yeah, I mean, just to start from the beginning at the top of the list, just to start at the beginning, first round, Ryan came out, looked real good, sharp, came out attacking Davis, Davis, you got to say, took the shots well. He got hit. He took some body punches, took some rights upstairs. He took them well, showed a good chin. Ryan did a lot of the same in the second round. Got caught, as you see there, got dropped. And then the whole controversy ensued with the 10-10 round and 10-9 round. I personally thought he won the round. So, I think that's when you get into the scoring technicality. It should be a 10-9 or whatnot. But I thought he still won that round because Davis didn't really throw. A lot of people saying he should have won that round. I don't think you can win a round by throwing one punch or landing one punch unless you win the fight, right? And that means you got a knockout. But I still think that was a Ryan round. I don't know how people are saying otherwise. Maybe they need to go watch it again. But, I think he won some rounds. But at the end of the day, we all kind of knew he gets careless. His defense is limited, very limited head movement, a bit slow on his feet. This is the stuff we expected, right? I was surprised he was able to land so much on Tank, honestly. And I was surprised that Tank took it so well. But that's just kind of like a brief summary from my part of the fight, how it went down. And then that body shot was just vicious. Counter, Davis is a great counter puncher. Showed it there. Power, he was able to hurt I guess you can say bigger guy in Ryan Garcia. Even though we know about all the stipulations and stuff, he wasn't going to be 100% himself. Not at 135 or 136, but that's another topic. But great counter, great power, 27 KOs now for Tank Davis in 29 wins.
Yeah, I think people wanted to see what Ryan's game plan was going to be for this fight, and I think we saw it, transpire in those first early rounds. I saw that he was trying to hurt Gervonta early. He did not want this fight to go too many rounds. The longer the fight went, the more dangerous it was going to be for Ryan. And I think he got a little too overzealous, a little too overconfident. He tried to hurt him in that first round, and you saw it. You called it. You said, he got caught right there on that counter. And I agree with you. He was winning that round up until that moment. That's why some of the refs had it like 10-10, or they had some weird scoring, but some of the refs had that round in favor of Ryan, or they kind of evened it out. But yeah, I would have still given that round to Tank just because of that big knockdown. But I feel like that like many people, say that kind of changed the dynamic of that fight. I didn't feel Ryan as confident there moving forward. I did give him 1 or 2 rounds after that, but yeah, for me, in my opinion, it was a wrong game plan. I don't think you're supposed to chase a power puncher like a Tank that he depends on those counters. So yeah, I think it was a wrong game plan for Ryan Garcia. I gotta pose this question, Gio. Do you think an Eddie Reynoso or the Canelo team would have helped him more in this type of fight?
Yeah, we talked about it a little last week. We weren't sure. I think watching the fight, I definitely think things would have been different. I mean, the first knockdown you guys saw there, Ryan Garcia threw the same combination 3 times. I mean, Reynoso would have never allowed that to happen 3 times. That's just very undisciplined. Did you not see the Leo Santa Cruz fight? That's exactly how he got stopped. So I think the first 3 rounds for sure, we saw a very energetic Ryan Garcia, but at times sloppy and not disciplined. Not sure what was said in the corner. I wouldn't blame Goosen, but I think for sure with an Eddie Reynoso, especially after the knockdown, I feel like they would have made some adjustments. Not sure if that would have been enough to win the fight, but I think, of course, he would have made it past 7, 8, 9 rounds. Not sure if you feel the same sentiment, but that's watching the fight. That's just what I thought. He was getting a bit too careless for me.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I agree with. Like, I don't know, between the telecast, I couldn't really see the coaches. I don't know if they had commercials in between or what, or they just muted their mics, but I couldn't hear a lot of directions from Joe Goose, and maybe he did give directions, maybe not as clearly as Eddie and also, but yeah, I like it when those cameras show the corners and you hear the advice. I don't think they showed it as much, so that's a little bit disappointing on either Showtime or DAZN's part. But yeah, I think he would have done, or he would have fared much better with an Eddie Reynoso, someone like that gives them specific and very detailed instructions, what to look out for, what to do. And I don't know, I want to say that Joe he's not that elite level of coaching.
Yeah, let's go to some comments real quick here, Chris. I'm sure a lot of people will share that same sentiment with you. Shout out to Derek with the super chat coming through. Thank you, Derek. Appreciate you. Let's see. Disagree with Ryan looking good, says, and be more. Big Bro says, saw some boxing channel post a rumor that the fight did 1.2 million buys. He said, psych. Not sure what the numbers are right now. The B says the 1.2 million buys came from people buying it off the zone 5 times. Did you hear about that, Chris? The zone was not working.
I didn't hear that. Yep. What's that about?
Yeah, so I guess a lot of people struggled on the zone to get the fight. They paid for it. They couldn't watch it. The app was messing up. They had to purchase it more than once, and even then, they still had trouble watching it. So that's what Twitter was saying. That's what the internet was saying, that a lot of people had trouble. So man, the zone, not sure how long they're gonna be around, man. At least in boxing, I know they got other sports, but I don't know. They're not making people too happy nowadays with the price and then the pay-per-view on top of that. Not a good look, obviously, for the zone.
Yeah, no, I didn't hear about that, but it makes sense now. When I was, watching the previews and the build up to it, it looked like Showtime was the one that kind of took over, the production. So obviously this was a shared promotion, a shared fight. And yeah, man, it just shows you that if you're not in the game long enough, you're gonna have these technical issues, and not a good look for the zone.
Yeah. NB Moore says, anyone know boxing saw Ryan training with his jaw high and body open? Yeah, and that's exactly what he did in the fight. Offensively, first couple rounds looked good, but even when attacking and coming forward, he was very, very exposed.
Yeah.
I know a guy who got charged 4 times as Derek, buying it on the zone. Unbelievable. Saw people on Twitter saying they tried to buy it multiple times and couldn't watch it. Shaking my head, says Big Bro. That's crazy. They weren't ready, man. They weren't ready for the traffic.
Yeah.
Nobody can help him, says Big Bro. He doesn't listen. Does rookie mistakes.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like Ryan didn't have, and I said this when I was watching the fight, I was like, he didn't have a plan B, C, or even D. It was just, him falling in love with that knockout, and he was just forcing it, and that's something you don't do in boxing. You let it come to you. I would have favored Ryan, just trying to outbox him the way Mario Barrios did, and I consider Ryan a better boxer than Mario Barrios. And if you outbox him, you frustrate him, you win rounds, eventually he will walk into one of those left hooks. But yeah, again, Ryan Garcia just tried to force it too much. He wanted that knockout so bad, and it bit him.
B. Moore says, you saw all these flaws with a knockdown and a knee and still gave Ryan Garcia a grade of a B. Did you give him a B, Chris? I didn't hear that part.
I give the events. Events of B.
Okay. Hey, talking about letters, Pitbull Cruz says, he said, if Ryan called me a C-class fighter, then he's a Z-class fighter. Pitbull throwing some shots. No, Ryan doesn't want that. Stay away.
Those were shots fired, and people can have their opinions, but hey, man, Tank Cruz went the distance, and he had, it's the Cruz that went the distance with Tank, and he had Tank nervous in those late rounds. So I would have to agree that Tank Cruz or that Isaac Pitbull Cruz fought a better fight.
Oh, 1,000%. He didn't get stopped. So, guy's not happy with Tank. They're saying he still hasn't fought an elite lightweight. And yeah, that's what I said. They were claiming he was going to be the face of boxing, but he's not even the face of any division at the moment. So, definitely not lightweight. Definitely not 135. May 20th is when that undisputed fight is. So, face of boxing, far, far from it still for Tank. He has to be the face of his division first. And it's going back to Rollies or Cruz rematch watch. Talking about Davis. Yeah, probably. He's probably going to face one of those. He on that Mayweather stroller, says B. Now going in on Tank Davis. What does he got? Watch out. All right. Maybe PVC set them up, says Derek. Wouldn't be surprised, Derek. They are a greedy bunch, to say the least. Yeah, PVC is also a dying company, so they're trying to get as much as they can get. They hopped on this fight. They knew it was favorable for Tank. They knew he wouldn't lose unless he got knocked out. And, ultimately, I think he fought a good fight. But as we stated last week, it was going to take something huge for Ryan to win, with his skill set at this point of his career. Now, I do think he's going to get much better from this fight. He can't. I don't think he goes backwards. He can't get worse. Not that he fought a terrible fight, but I think he learns from this. He gets much better. It's going to be interesting to see who he fights next. It's going to have to be someone with no power, in my opinion, just to kind of get his feet wet a little bit, get back into it. He's going up to 140, he's saying. So take a little tune-up. I'm sure he's still going to have nightmares about that body shot. And then that left upstairs that dropped him. So I see him being a more careful fighter. Hopefully he works on defense a little more. Hopefully he works on keeping that right hand up, because every training video, his hand is down to his torso area, not next to his chin. So, this is no secret. Everyone saw it. Like B. Moore said earlier, you see it in the training video. So you can't be shocked at his lack of defense against Tank Davis.
Yeah. And just going back to the numbers a little bit, Julio, the stats are saying as high as 1.4 million. Other numbers are saying 1 million. And altogether, that brings in about, minimum 20 million. Would you call that a commercial success?
If it's upwards of 1 million, yes. Do I believe those numbers? No.
Yeah. If 1 million is the most that's reported, obviously we know PBC, we know Showtime. Let's say 200K is not, they're overdoing it with that. Would you say 750K is still considered a success?
Yeah, I would say so because look, these guys are stars, but they haven't really had big fights. What's Tank's biggest fight? Maybe Leo Santa Cruz, who's not you can't say he's a star himself. You can't say he's a pay-per-view star. Ryan obviously is not a pay-per-view star at this point of his career. He's had no big fights. So, yeah, I would consider that a success, especially as their coming out party. We still don't know the number for Caleb Plant and Benavides, right? We're never going to get the real number. PBC always says they sell all these events, but we know they don't, you know. Um,
Yeah.
so I think this for sure has to do better than, Plant Benavides. Otherwise, it's going to be considered a dud simply because of the names. The names, these guys have a decent following, but obviously they're not on, the A class level as far as the Canelos and Tyson Furies and Anthony Joshua's. They're nowhere near that level, but I think anywhere between 500,000 and like you said, 750K. I think that's a great number for those two.
Yeah, I was reading Tank's numbers, and I think of his most notable names, the Isaac Cruz, the Mario Barrios. I know we can't believe the true number, but I think Isaac Cruz is like at 100K, and everybody else was around the 200K mark. And we said on this podcast last week, anything under 250K, even 300K would have been a disappointment. So if we adjust inflation, PVC inflation, 750K, it's not a bad number. I would say this is a good success, and obviously brings more attention to their names, which takes me to my next question, Gio. Does this bring Ryan's stock down a little bit?
I don't know. I think he doesn't really get respect in the boxing community as is. So it has to bring it down because he's not no longer undefeated, and his you can say his second big fight he gets stopped. Uh, but I don't think it's going to be too hard for him to get up there again. I say take a little tune-up fight, knock a veteran out, and then you're back. You're back in that talk. Back in that conversation of the other guys, the Tofimos of the world, the Haneys of the world, the Lomas of the world. Obviously, those guys are a lot more accomplished, but I think Ryan has done a good job by winning nothing thus far in his career and being mentioned with those guys.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, the big talk prior to this fight were these clauses, the stipulations. You kind of said it was more like Ryan kind of had to take this and take all these stipulations to make this fight, which we commend him for. But if you're Ryan's team moving forward, Gio, and this a rematch, comes back, what is the time frame that you make a rematch with Ryan and Tank, and in what weight do you make this fight?
Well, it would have to be at 140 or higher. Obviously, I think I don't know if years is what I'm looking at. I'm looking at fights. I'd say give Ryan at least 4 more fights, and they have to be, like I said, a couple little tune-ups at first, and then obviously get in there against someone more experienced, and then try to get in there with someone who's challenging at least for a title like a Luke Campbell was, in his time. Obviously, he was a champion, but when Brian fought him, he no longer was that same Luke Campbell. But I don't know if I'm looking at years, but I am looking at fights, at least 4 or 5 more fights. I mean, Ryan, what hurt him too is, I read a lot of people that said this too, is that development stage, he was started fighting once a year. When you're 21, 22, 23, that does not help at all. So I think he has to be busy, maybe take a little break, but then get back to it, be busy, 4 or 5 more fights, and then you start thinking about Gervonta Davis again. Ideally, for me, if I'm a promoter, maybe 5 years down the road, Ryan is 28, 29, Tank is 33, 34. By then, Brian should have a lot more experience, should be a better fighter, and now the playing field is a little more even. Obviously, eliminate any type of stipulations and clauses and rehydrations and this and that, and now we have ourselves a better fight. But at this point of his career, like we said, Tank was supposed to win, and he did what he did. You know.
Yeah. I'm glad you said three to four fights, because I have a list here, Gio, of 3 to 4 names that he should fight, and 3 and 4 names that he shouldn't fight. And this is for Ryan Garcia.
All right.
So I got names. Obviously, this is at 140. He has no business at 135. In my opinion, he can still make that weight, but it does not benefit him whatsoever. So for Ryan Garcia, the next 3 to 4 fights that I feel he should be fighting are these guys.
Let's hear
Jose
it.
Pedraza,
Okay, easy.
Sergio Lopez, Richard Comey,
Okay.
and Pedro Campos. These are names that people know, but they're not big. You know, they're not very big punchers at 140. They're a little bit past their primes, but people still know who they are. So now I'm going to name the 4 guys that he should not get in the ring with anytime soon.
All right.
The 3-4 fights that you mentioned. I got Regis Prograis, Teofimo Lopez, Chon Cepeda, and Jose Ramirez. And then you could add a few more in there, but those are the 4 I feel like he should not get in the ring anytime soon.
Yeah, for sure. I wouldn't even fight a guy like Cruz. As far as 140, don't fight anyone in the top 10. As simple as that. Stay away from everyone. But I do like the names that you mentioned, or the guys that he should fight. Can you remind me of the 4 or 3-4 that you said?
That he shouldn't fight?
That he should. You said Lipinets. That's a good fight.
Lipinets, Richard Comey, Jose Pedraza, and Pedro Campa, the guy that Teofimo just...
Okay, yeah. A guy like Lipinets and Pedraza's faced everyone, so I think that would be a good comeback win. But yeah, I mean, he's going to have to, if he goes to 140, I mean, tread lightly. That's all I got to say, because there's a lot of killers in that division, and those guys are big. When you mentioned Jose Ramirez, damn near 6 feet tall, probably walks around at what, 180? Easily, 185. Big dudes in that division. Hey, and guess what? Tank should stay away from those guys too. Because he won a plastic belt at 140, but he's definitely not fighting anyone at 140 either. Tank Davis.
Yeah. So this brings me to my next question, Joe. And I know we kind of talked about it a little bit in the show. We talked about it a little bit last episode, but a lot of the talk was that the winner would be the face of boxing. So I think Tank and some of the other fighters clarify what they meant by that. It's not necessarily the men at like the best at 135, but they did say something along them lines as, the face of boxing is the most popular boxer in America in those lighter weight divisions. Do you think Gervonta Tank Davis is that?
The most popular
after this fight
in the country, you're saying, or just at 135?
I would say in the country, most popular to American fans, to British fans.
No, not even in his division. I don't know, because I feel like for some reason those guys are so bad at marketing themselves. I think even Lomachenko is a lot more famous than those guys, and he's not even from here, which is crazy. And people like to say, "Oh, well, they have a whole country behind them." Well, how many Ukrainians do you know live in the United States? So that's not a valid reason. Guys like Joshua, Fury, B says Canelo, even those guys are more popular in this country, and they're not even from here. So, yeah, I don't know. There's something. I don't want to say wrong, but there's something, I don't know what it is, holding those guys back. The American fighters just don't know how to promote themselves because people in this country don't even care about them.
Yeah. All right, I agree.
And
so
then,
hold
up. B-more, he mentioned Rolly. I would fight Rolly if I'm Brian in 2-3 fights. That's a good name to beat him and get back to it.
Yeah. It's a dangerous fight, though. Rolly's got some power. He may not be the most, sound fighter, the most technical fighter, but he's got some pop. So, but I mean, that's a good name. Like maybe the third fight, fourth fight for Ryan to take on.
Yeah, and then one comment here, Chris Regis says, "Big bro." Regis says he's the face of boxing in the American market, which is fair. Yeah, I mean it can be. I mean that's how bad the American market is. There's no one really out there. You can say.
I mean, when I say face of boxing, I'm thinking of who's the ticket seller, like who's the American boxer that sells the most tickets. I would have to say Gervonta right now. I mean, obviously Ryan is the draw, but he lost. So, as in draw, you can say you're the biggest draw. I think they're just overreaching with the face of boxing, and I agree with Brian until somebody dethrones, Canelo from that, from those numbers that there isn't anybody else that comes even close to.
It's tricky. Canelo. It's tricky because I don't know if this is just a stat that LRB threw out, which those are never accurate, but they're saying that Davis averaged like 15,000 fans in the past, it's past like 5 fights or something, which is good. Mm-hmm. It's good. It's nowhere near, like I said, the Canelos of the world that put 60 to 80,000 people in a stadium. Fury does that, it's nowhere near that level, but it's still greater than, guys who are active and other than their hometown, they can't put 3,000 people in those seats. So, but I think what has helped Tank Davis too is his opponents, unless he's fighting in Baltimore, if he's fighting in LA, he's going to need a Mexican boxer to help promote that fight. He's going to need a guy like Rolly to help sell tickets as well. So if you put right now Tank Davis against the 30th ranked 135 pounder, no one's going to that stadium. He can't do it on his own. Canelo can sell out a stadium against John Ryder, but Gervonta Davis, he needs a dance partner to put up good numbers. So, but it's tricky because who else is there? Wilder, Errol Spence. I feel like those guys are not active enough for me to be at the top of that list. It's very hard. It's very difficult.
I would say like he has a case to say I'm the face of American boxing, just based on his style, based off his explosiveness, his knockout power.
He should be. He should be.
Now the name that he has, but he can't say he's the face of boxing as a whole, in my opinion. But he's on his way. He's got 2 guys that are fighting May 20th, which takes me to my next question, Gio. What fights make sense for Gervonta Tank Davis in your opinion?
Kind of going back to the previous topic before I answer this, he should be the face of American boxing. The issue is with 99% of these other dudes, they don't take big fights. They don't understand. That's the only key. Take big fights. All of the pay-per-view stars did it. De La Hoya fought everyone. Pacquiao fought everyone. Canelo fought everyone. That's how you do it. These guys are trying to take shortcuts, and they can't put up numbers because no one's interested if you're fighting. Even this is a good fight as a name, but in the boxing community, we know Davis was supposed to win this fight. Now, moving on to the question that you asked, who should he face? I don't know. It's tough because of his promoters. It's always going to be tough because they're going to pick and choose, and they're going to hide behind the PBC banner. But if you're a boxing fan, you want the best to fight the best. To me, Shakur Stevenson, if he gets 1 or 2 more big fights, he's going to be the face of American boxing, right? I think he should fight Davis. A smart fight for him would be Lomachenko. His promoters didn't let him fight Lomachenko. They just didn't want it. And, that would have been a good fight. With his power, you can bother Lomachenko. Lomachenko's older now. Let's see how he does against Haney. But for sure, if Loma wins, you want to go after him. I think even a fight with Pitbull Cruz, the rematch is a good fight. They can sell that now. The first time around, Not many people were interested. They saw how it went down. Pitbull's now more relevant. People have been talking about him in that list of names, right, at 135. But I think those two fights, if you want to be a star, you go for the top dogs. And to me, the one that makes more sense because of his age is Lomachenko. I don't know. I can't think of really anyone else. 140, he's not going to face anyone at 140. There's no one with, other than Teofimo Lopez with the name, maybe Josh Taylor, who's a high risk, high reward. I think all the other ones are low reward for him.
Yeah, no, I agree. Obviously, when you're 29, you just had, the most, I want to say the biggest win, but the most mainstream win. The way he just had over Ryan, you're in your prime, and you stride it out. You want to be the face, fight the best. I agree. He should fight in my opinion, he should fight the winner of Haney Loma. And even then, if you fight that winner and beat him, then take on the loser. They're still the two of the best lightweights. You could also take on Shakur. Once you have those three to four mega fights back to back to back, that's instant credibility. If you win those fights, it's against top opposition. It's at the right time. I think that's how you become the face, not just of American boxing, but you make a case to be the face of boxing. Because that's exactly how Canelo did it. He fought the best in that 168, at 160. That's the way to go. And I don't think you should, follow that old Mayweather witness protection program. It's now or never.
Witness protection. No, but you're right. Like you said, Canelo fought the best at 54, whether it was Erislandy Lara or Austin Trout. He fought the best at 160, Triple G. Fought the three best at 168, and now he's probably going for the best. He probably fought the best guy at 75 too. It's either Bivol or Beterbiev. So fight the best in every division, and that's how you become a star. But for some reason, these guys don't understand that. And B Moore says, Tank Loma's a mega fight. Pitbulls is entertaining and sells. Devin Haney does not sell. Yeah, and I was thinking about Haney, but same thing, that doesn't sell. That his style is not very entertaining. He hasn't fought big names. Yeah, he has all the belts, but, a name like Lomachenko has more value right now than the name of Devin Haney. Let's just be real. Even a name like Garcia, just the name has more value than Devin Haney, right? Teofimo Lopez too. But it's just so difficult because, like B said earlier, he's on the Mayweather stroller. He still has a training wheel, so we just don't see him fighting these big fights. Before we continue, Big Bro says Pitbull is the easiest quote unquote top fight for him. Media, Mexican fans have casuals believing is dangerous and a great fight. Hey, Pitbull is like 5'2", huh? I saw a clip, I think today. He was much shorter than Davis. It's crazy, that he's fighting at 135. But yeah, I mean, going back to the fight, you rated the event a B. Earlier, Derek said the undercard wasn't that great, and I 100% agree with him. For that reason, I'm going to give it a C-. And I think I'm being nice because we saw David Morrell take on I don't know who. I think Elijah Garcia, that was a good fight. We saw Gabe Rosado. We knew we had a good feeling he was going to lose that one. We kind of knew who the winners were going to be from top to bottom. So I personally didn't care about the undercard, even though I paid for it. I didn't care for it. The main event to me was good, but that was it. I would say C-.
Yeah, I'm not mad at that. Like you said, there was no undercard. It was a rematch. That was like kind of interesting, but the fight itself wasn't too exciting. So I'm not mad at your grade. I think I got to give it a bump up just because it happened. Automatically gets a C for me, and then a little bit of action, knockout, cool. B. But no, I'm not mad at your rating, Gio, at all.
Yeah, and I don't know if this is kind of random, popped up on my Instagram. The game lost 100K betting on Ryan Garcia to
All that.
comedian DC Youngfly. Thought that was funny.
Yeah, I've been seeing a bunch of
100K.
Joel Diaz videos out here. I guess he was rooting for Ryan, and obviously all his fighters, they don't really like him.
Hmm.
He's been shelling out money, a couple hundred here and there to all his fighters. They believe in Tank, as did many people, ourselves included, if we were thinking with our brains. But yeah, man, a lot of Tank believers here getting money. I think Errol Spence put money. Even your boy Drake finally made some money. Yeah, it's a lot of people were at this fight. A lot of celebrities, the Mike Tysons, the Manny Pacquiao, the Sugar Ray Leonards, Dr. J was there. Obviously, Mark Wahlberg, a big fan of boxing. Michael B. Jordan, Chance the Rapper, David Leonard was there. So there was a lot of names. It was a cool event.
Caleb Plant taking pictures with David Benavidez and everything.
Hey, that's my favorite white boy. You can't say nothing bad about Caleb Plant right now.
Hey, everybody was there except Bernard Hopkins.
So tell me what happened, Gio. You have the intel. What happened there?
B says Chance the Rapper a bum too.
B Hop or BD?
BD. Yeah, so you guys, I'm sure you guys have seen the Oscar De La Hoya clip by now. He was saying that Bernard Hopkins was banned by PBC, couldn't be part of the promotion anymore, couldn't be part of any of the promotion in the fight. They said he wasn't at the arena, that he was banned. He accused him of having some testosterone cream, I think he said, during that tussling back and forth during the weigh-ins. And that, I think it was the weigh-ins, right? Or was it just the press conference?
It was the weigh-ins.
Yeah. And then Oscar said he was banned after that. Oscar said he received death threats, and that's why he wasn't with Ryan at the end. I don't know what's true or what wasn't, but look, everybody was there except B-Hop, and De La Hoya was not there after the fight. Not the first time he's done it. I think he should have been there, but I don't know if we'll get the true story or the truth from either party.
Yeah. I know Mayweather was talking smack. Obviously, Mayweather always, cops on that. Any chance he gets to land a jab, to throw a jab, he will. But I thought it was unfortunate. I don't see B-Hop being that kind of a individual to do something dirty. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but only they know what happened. Post-fight conference, Ryan, very classy in defeat, made no excuses, gave Tank all the credit in the world, and I think they did right by letting Tank, have the floor to himself. It was his moment. It's easy for people to talk about Ryan and an event of this caliber, and because again, we give him a lot of credit for taking this fight, with all the stipulations, but he was humble in defeat. Let Tank have the stage. What were your thoughts on that, Gio?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that? I was reading the comments.
What were your thoughts on
Ryan?
Tank getting the shine, getting the stage to himself at the end?
That was cool. After a big fight, that's how it should be. Like you said, classy from Ryan to not make excuses and take it like a man. But yeah, I don't know. I think everything post-fight happened how it should have, except for the promoters not being there. But on that topic, Big Bro says they did B-Hop dirty, SMH. I didn't like the Tank disrespecting him. That's a legend right there. That's your elder. Put some respect on his name because of guys like him, you are who you are. He paved the road for a lot of people. So you always got to respect the legends. B Moore says, I ain't saying B-Hop shady, but he looks shady. He always looks shady. He always does. I agree with that. But Big Bro says, if I was Floyd, I would have put half my fortune on Tank KO since he's not his promoter anymore, technically. Shout out to Sean checking in. B-More says, Tank Cambosos is a big fight. Also, Tank KO's Cambosos better fashion than Devin. I don't know if anyone Cambosos is a big fight unless it's in Australia. But, yeah, I don't think Cambosos will be relevant anymore. I'm still shocked he had all the belts. But, yeah, what's your take, Chris, on Oscar not being there, and do we care? Does it matter to us?
It's a little surprising, but at the same time, not surprising. We know Oscar has extracurricular activities but you should have shown up and shown, support your fighter even in defeat. You didn't have to say the whole time, congratulate your opponent, wish him the best, and skedaddle out of there, man. But yeah, not surprised. With Oscar, I mean, death threats. I don't know really what goes on, behind the scenes. But yeah, I mean, it's a bad look. Not being there for your guy. You're there, supporting him to the build-up, and be there when he's out, when he's down. So, bad look, in my opinion.
I didn't care too much for it, but yeah, I didn't care too much for it. All right, let's see.
I was going to go back to one of the comments by B-More. He said, my top 4 for Ryan are Brandon Lee, William Cepeda. I'm assuming he means William Cepeda, Russell, or Rolly. I like Brandon Lee. If it's a Cepeda, I'm thinking William Cameron, I would stay away from him.
Yeah, don't fight Cepeda.
That guy's a destroyer, in my opinion. Russell? You talking about Russell Jr.? Nah, he's too small. Rolly makes sense too, as you mentioned earlier.
Big Bro says, I would have not showed up either if I was Oscarin. Would have went to party with an IG girl, and like he probably did. B-More says, I believe Ryan quit, and people moving the goalpost on what quitting is. Do you want to address that, Chris? Is that quitting?
Dang. I mean, again, it's tough. I'm not a fighter. I've taken a punch, and it hurts like hell. But it is a form of quitting. Again, these things happen split second, 10 seconds, all that pressure. I think he looked over to Tank when he went down, and I think Tank got in his head, and he's like, get up. And at that moment, with that pain right there in your liver, your air out, I think at that moment, he did quit. But again, it's such a, again, I can't talk because I'm not a boxer, but there's only very, very, very few fighters that can get up and keep going and take more punishment, because that fighter across from you is going to keep digging, and it's just going to hurt 10 times worse. I've only seen Gaddy do it, a few others. You've even seen Oscarin, fold. It's very tough to get up. And again, it isn't a form of quitting, but I mean, hey, they're there. We're not.
Yeah, like I said earlier, I feel like the fighter is always going to get the benefit of the doubt, right? Because we're not the ones getting punched. So I don't think we could talk about that. Now, as far as the question is, do you think he quit? I wouldn't say he quit, but I think he could have continued. I'll probably just leave it at that. I don't think he quit, but I think he could have continued. He got up right after the 10 count. To me, that doesn't mean he's recovered. It's different walking to your corner than engaging back in the fight, especially with Tank. To me, Tank is probably the best finisher in boxing right now. 27 KOs in 29 fights. I don't think if he gets up, he would have got stopped either way, in my opinion. Like I said, just because he got up after the 10 seconds doesn't mean he was recovered fully. It looked like he tried to get up and his legs just said no. But yeah, that's a tricky one. That's a tricky one. I'm gonna go with Regis. I think we should shut the fuck up because we're not fighters.
Yeah, I mean, I would have given Ryan, even more credit if he gets up. I'm one of those people, like, in real time, I'm like, dude, get up. I wanted to see more.
Yeah.
Again, that's just the fan in me. That's the fan that wants to see more, wants to see, but again, it's already tough being a fighter in itself. Even just, again, and people have brought up that, the weight, stipulations, that makes you second guess yourself. If you're fully filled out, I'm sure he takes that body shot a little bit better. I'm sure he says, you know what, freak it, I'll get up. If you're filled out more, there's a lot of little intricacies, but I'm at that moment I was disappointed, but I'm not too disappointed now because it is what it is.
Yeah, and look,
And
what if the fight is at 140 and those Ryan Garcia punches are a little heavier?
Yeah.
There's a lot of what ifs, but like I said, I'm gonna give the fighter always the benefit of the doubt. As a boxing fan, even I think I read something. I don't know how accurate this is. You never know when you read stuff, right? But I read that Julio Cesar Chavez doing the live broadcast was very upset, and he called him a quitter, and then retracted his statements. And once he watched it live, the replay, he retracted those statements. But yeah, I think the overall sentiment from fighters is, they know how it feels. We don't. So, and then the general feeling of the boxing fan is he quit. He could have kept going. So, yeah, it's a tough one.
Yeah, like I said that he did quit, but I don't blame him for doing it. I will have a problem down the line if he makes it a habit. I think of Victor Ortiz. The first time that he quit, I was disappointed as well, but I understood it. I know that was a lot of damage I was taking. But when he kept doing it, it became a habit. That's when I was like, "You're done." It was more like unforgivable down the line. But I think it's because he let that week in that I focus on something again. If Ryan makes it a habit, then there's no forgiving him.
Yeah. And
Pull him up, or you're looking yourself in the mirror, and this is no longer for me. But yeah, we'll see what happens. But
Yeah, and B Moore says we're rewriting what quitting is. Tank looked at him and he quit. I don't have to be a boxer to see what my eyes see. Well, explain to. I don't think he's saying much with that. If you can try to explain why he quit, I think that'd be better. But I think a big takeaway from my part is, hey, Ryan showed a great chin. I don't think he gets stopped if Tank doesn't go to the body. Ryan got hit, flush punch once again, like the Luke Campbell one, popped right back up. Obviously left himself wide open, ate that whole punch, the whole thing, not just part of it. He ate that whole punch, got knocked down as you see there, and then he popped right up, wasn't hurt. So I think he showed a very good chin, and I don't think he gets stopped to the head. But Tank, man, that was smart. I think Ryan should have gone a little more to the body. I think at first, beginning part of the fight, he landed some very good body punches, but then he forgot about that and got careless. But yeah, man, I think overall the past 2-3 weeks, the build up to it was enjoyable. The fight was enjoyable, and then hopefully they carry this momentum and continue to give us big fights. I think I'm more intrigued now to see how and who Ryan fights next. As far as Tank, we know it's probably not going to be the guy of the caliber of Ryan, unfortunately. I hope I'm wrong, but he tends to take, fights where he's favored. But I am very intrigued to see what's next for Ryan Garcia, how he comes back, how he bounces back. Goosen, his trainer, wasn't there either at the end of the fight. Not sure if that has anything to do with his immediate future. But, both names obviously still relevant and probably to the top 2-3 names, in around 130 and 135 and 140.
Dude, I didn't even pick up on that. That's a good thing that you caught there. We'll see what happens. But yeah, just to finish off, everybody expected Tank to knock him out to the head, and it came to the body. And obviously, we remember Ryan Garcia knocked out Luke Campbell to the body, and he couldn't get up. A lot of people expect people to get up and keep going, but those body shots are some of the most, brutal shots to take, and it's hard to recover. Yeah, I would say for anybody that's, that has something to say about that, hey, take a body shot, put the timer, and see if you can get up. I would say, like, that's the only thing I can think of to see if you know how that feels and if you get up. I'm not going to sign up for that. I don't think I could get up. Even if I tried, I don't want to feel that pain. But, I mean, that's the only way you'll know what it feels like to be a boxer. But, yeah, man, again, everybody has their definition of what that is. Again, I do say that he quit, but I don't blame him.
Yeah. All right. So, Big Bro, we're going to sign off soon. So leave your last comments or questions or whatnot. Big Bro says, heard audio where Mexican commentator said he wants to see Ryan in the ring again right after the loss. And Chavez says he doesn't. I don't want to watch him again. But yeah, I think he retracted his statement right after that. Obviously, the heat of the moment, being there live, calling the fight live. And look, I got to give props to Davis, though. I'm sure most of you saw the footage where he knocked down the phone of the Mexican commentator. I think he was with, I don't know, TV Azteca or I don't know what channel, one of those. Knocked down his phone. This happened before the fight. The reporter wasn't really doing anything. He was just holding the phone and saying, oh, here's Tank Davis. Tank Davis looked at him, dropped the phone. After the fight, they had an in-ring interview. The guy asked him his questions, and then at the end said, hey, remember me? You dropped my phone. And then they kind of chuckled. Davis apologized. He said it was just the heat of the moment. He was cutting weight. He was not in the mood. He apologized, and then they hugged it out and took a picture together. So I thought that was pretty cool to see. But, yeah, I mean, we want more fights like this in boxing, especially in that division, 135 and or 136. I feel like there's a lot of talent in those divisions. Those divisions are highly touted, often overrated, but we need to see these guys face each other to prove us wrong. Those of us who think these guys are overrated, they're considering these guys, they're calling them the 4 new kings when none of them had fought each other. So, look, one matchup, you can check it off. Davis, Garcia, props to them for getting it on, for fighting, for agreeing to whatever they had to agree with, and keep it going. There's still Haney out there. There's still Shakur out there. There's still Loma out there. I'm sure not for long, but he's still out there. So there's still many, many big fights to be made. And as boxing fans, we demand them. So we want to see them.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Gio. I think Tank and Ryan set the bar of what boxing should be and could be. Again, these are 2 guys that they could have waited a couple more years. Their boxers before them have shown, the way to do it, and they decided not to. They gave this fight for the fans. So I commend these 2 guys for getting in the ring. All the other lightweights have to get the ball moving, man. Haney and Loma is coming up next. Again, I commend these 2 guys for getting in that ring and facing each other. I know you're not big on Haney, but I'm big on him. He fought Cambosos twice overseas for lesser money. Now he's fighting Loma. He's been calling Loma for a while. Of course, Loma had his issues with, because of everything that's going on back at home. But I see the ball moving, and so, yeah, I got to commend these lightweights who want to see these fights more. These are the more interesting names in boxing and the more interesting division in boxing. So get it going.
Be more disrespectful, man. He said Ryan is a new Amir Khan. Oh, man.
Dang.
It was disrespectful. But yeah.
I commend him on his chin. If Amir Khan takes one of those, he's out. He's on wobbly legs. He's doing his think leg. Nah, like you said, Ryan took those shots good. He got up. Sure, he was a little hurt, but he was still in it. He recovered up until that body shot. So, yeah, that's disrespectful.
he never did the stanky leg. He never wobbled. He always looked solid. But yeah, I think that's all I got. I don't think we missed anything. We'll probably come back with the reported pay-per-view numbers next week. Of course, Canelo's coming up May 6th. That's going down in Guadalajara, Jalisco, Mexico. He's facing his mandatory challenger, John Ryder. We'll break that fight down, everything you need to know about that fight. We'll talk about it. And that's really the next big event coming up. And then obviously, the I think even bigger than that in May, Devin Haney against Lomachenko, right? That's the one that we're looking forward to, all the belts. I think this is going to tell us a lot, whether this is Lomachenko's last rodeo or not, depending on how he looks against Devin Haney. And, yeah, I mean, we're looking forward to that. So we'll be back next week to break all that down. May's going to get hot. And, April was good, but May's going to get hot. So we're looking forward to that, Chris. Yeah.
And can I just say, Gio, shout out to Errol Spence Jr. and Terrence Crawford for announcing that their fight, in this event. Shout out to those guys.
Who? I'm sorry?
Obviously, that did not happen.
Oh, man.
This was they said they were going to announce it. It did not happen. I'm going to say it now. If it didn't happen at this event with that much exposure, it's never going to happen, dude. That was their last chance for them to throw a Hail Mary and make it happen. And, if anything was fumbled, it was that.
Insane. All right. But, yeah, shout out to B Moore saying nice chatting first time. Shout out to you. We'll be back soon if you want to tune in. Shout out to Big Bro. Shout out to B. Shout out to Sean in the chat. Shout out to you guys keeping it lit. We'll be back soon, Chris. Like we said, May is getting hot. It's getting hot. We're still waiting for fight announcements, man. We're still waiting. There's still Fury. Andy Reese, I'm not sure that's happening. Usyk, any of the other top dogs. We want to see him fight, man. Canelo's up next. Let's see who follows.
That's it, man. Shout out to Tank Davis, the next face of boxing. But congrats.
That's that, mates. Make sure to follow us against DA Ropes, against The Ropes, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. Make sure to sub if you're not subbed already. We'll be back next week, mates. Hope you enjoyed it, Mike. Shout out to Baltimore. Shout out to Baltimore, man. I hope Tank doesn't get much time. I hope he doesn't do as much time as Mayweather. We'll see. Let's go, mates.
Let's go.
Michael, you already know I'm a fun guy.
Hola amigos, soy Juan Francisco Gallo Estrada. Quiero mandar un saludo para mis amigos de Contra las Cuerdas. Échenle muchas ganas. Un abrazo, muchas bendiciones.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. You know what mine is? Let's box, bitches. It's almost fight night.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you for the support. Keep doing your thing. You're doing a great job. So thank you and best wishes.
Huge shout out to Against the Ropes.
Shout out to Against the Ropes. Thank you guys for the interview, and hope to see you guys soon.
Against the Ropes, always doing the right thing.
Shout out to Against the Ropes, man. I appreciate you guys for having me, taking the time out y'all day.
Against the Ropes, #1.
Freddie Roach.
Thank you very much.